All right, apprentices, here we are again. Going to be working on a inspection for a new house, final inspection. So I thought it might be a good time to bring you guys along so that we can look at some of the spacing we've been talking about lately out of the code book. So right now I'm on the second floor. These are all bedrooms. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the spacing, like I said. So here we have a doorway, and this doorway breaks the wall. Obviously, you can see the wall doesn't continue under the door. So within 6 foot, they needed to have a receptacle. And they do. It's pretty close, but it's good. And then from there, they could not go farther than 12 feet before they had another one. Once again, no more than 12 feet. And another one. And then within 6 foot of this doorway, it's a different doorway, they had to have one within 6 feet. And then on the other side, within 6 feet, and they do. And then on this side of the other door, the first door we started at, within 6 feet. So this room is good to go. Single pole switch. Looking up, no light. So now we need to check the receptacles. Now this company, I've already tested this whole house, by the way. But this company, they like to flip their switched receptacle and the opposite orientation to designate that it's the switched outlet. So you can see the rest of these are in this orientation. And the only one that's different is this one. So this was the switched receptacle. It's only half switched. One half's hot, one half is switched, so that you can plug in a lamp or something and having a light that works in here. We have here laundry room. Here we have our laundry outlets. I already tested this one. It's GFCI protected, but it's GFCI protected down here. So this receptacle and this receptacle are on the same circuit. Okay. This GFCI loads out to this receptacle, and this will trip that receptacle. And that is all a laundry circuit. That's considered a laundry circuit according to code. Has to be 20 amp, has to be 12 gauge wire. And it's a required circuit by code. All right, next bedroom. Door within 6 feet. Door within 6 feet. Can't go further than 12 feet. It's not. Can't go further than 12 feet. It's not. More than 12 feet. It's not. And then within 6 feet. Okay? Just wanted to show you an example of that a few times. And then what do we have here? Here we have a bathroom. We have to have a receptacle for each basin. Now they could also put one in between up here if there wasn't a mirror there. And that would supply both. Within 30 inches of the edge of the basin. Edge of the basin within 30 inches. Same here. They are GFCI protected at the breaker. So those are good to go. What else do we have? We have any that are interesting? No. Same thing. Within 6. Within 6. Within 6. No further than 12. All the way around. Another bathroom with 2 basins. Receptacle. GFCI on this one. Must have ran out of breakers. It tested just fine. All right, now let's go downstairs. Down here we have a living room area, great room, whatever you want to call it. Dining room is over this way. Kitchen's over here. Now in the kitchen, instead of the 6-12 rule, we had what? We had the 2 foot, 4 foot rule. So within the edge of this sink, we needed a receptacle within 2 feet because this sink breaks the countertop, technically speaking. And then within 4 feet of that one, we had to have another one. And then where the countertop ends, of course, that's a break in the countertop. We had to have this one within 2 feet. So they all satisfy the same rules. Within 2 feet of this edge of the sink, good. Can't go more than 4 feet. They didn't. Can't go more than 4 feet. They didn't. The range breaks the countertop here. And within 2 feet of that, we had to have one, which they do. And then on the other side, the range breaks the countertop within 2 feet. And because this countertop, even though it's small, it's wider than 12 inches. So it has to have a receptacle above it. It's considered a countertop at that point. Okay? Here we have an island. Put an outlet on one side. We have a receptacle on the other side. Dishwasher, range, microwave should have. Yep, there you go. Dedicated receptacle. Very cool. All right, what else do we have? Now, why did they put an outlet here? Well, even though this is in the kitchen or the dining room, that wall space is wider than 2 feet. So it's considered wall space and must have a receptacle. See that? It's not far, it's not a big space, but it requires it. 2 feet for the wall space, requires it. And then over here, because this countertop is wider than 12 inches, it requires one. And as you can tell, they're GFCI protected. They all tested out well. And we have 2 GFCIs here because we're required to have at least 2 circuits, small appliance circuits, feeding the receptacles above the countertop. At least 2. Okay, there we go. Within 6 foot of the door, no more than 12 feet. Within 6 feet of the end of the wall there, perfect. See that? 2 foot, more than 2 foot wall space, has to have one. More than a 2 foot wall space, has to have one. Technically a foyer, within 6 feet, no more than 12, no more than 12. Come around the corner, no more than 12. Now, even though this is technically 2 different rooms, this wall is not broken. But on the prints, there's an imaginary line drawn right across here that separates these 2 rooms, and they have 2 different labels on them. But this wall space isn't broken, so even though they're different circuits, they still have to comply with code. They still need to be within 12 feet of each other because that wall is not broken. Within 12, barely within 12, but it is. All right, now let's go out here. Should be able to find myself a lovely little garage. There we go. Turn the light on. Now the garage requires what? Well, it's echoey. This might sound funny. Here we have our panel. Bada boom. The garage requires at least 1 GFCI receptacle, and it has to have 1 for every bay of the garage. We only have 1 door. We have to have this receptacle. Down here we have another receptacle. This one's not required, but you can certainly add all you want. And then up here we have our garage door opener. That receptacle has to be within 6 feet of the opener, and it has to be GFCI protected. So they got everything they need here. Matter of fact, while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and sign this sticker. Check those out. Arc fault breakers, double pole, 25. This right here is called a breaker lock. We call that a breaker lock. If let's see, let me sign this real quick. What's today? 11/1. Yeah, happy November, everybody. Let's see, here we got double pole 25, double pole 60. Everything's labeled. Here we have a breaker lock for the hot water tank. This breaker lock is because you either have to put a disconnect or a breaker lock so that if someone comes to work on the water heater, they can safely turn it off, hook this breaker lock on around the handle, and then put a lock, I don't know if you can see that or not, through that hole. And that keeps somebody from energizing that on them. That's legal, a disconnect's legal, or to have the water heater within sight of the panel is also legal. All right, I'm gonna pause it here. If I find something else today, I'll knock another video out. Catch you later, guys.